Hello, welcome to my little shop of horrors over in South Norfolk. Today we're going to be making a standing seam panel that goes on a standing seam roof. First thing we got to do is set this cutter, the slitter, to 16 inches. The reason we're doing 16 inches is so we can get 3 pans out of one sheet of metal. This is a nice machine here, it does a great job. It actually, once you start the metal through there, it actually pulls it on its own, so you don't have to force it. So now we take this over to this part of the operation. Back. Back up. We'll feed this in the brake. Back side up. Then we're going to lock her in place on this end. Come in just a little bit off the half inch. Go to the other end. We'll lock this end in. A little less than a half inch, not a lot. And we're going to do a 90. That's leg. And we're going to do our second break. This one we're going to flush up to the edge. It'll be a half inch. That's what's going to lock that seam in. Now we're going to spin this pan around and flip it over. That next break is on the color side. And as you can see, we're not marking anything. And that's the beauty of these, if you've done so many of them, you can see that just by knowing your break and you can get certain measurements on it, you really fit these up pretty quick. Now we'll take our 1-inch gauge. We have a gauge that we use. And this gauge marks on the top. We have some gauges that mark on the bottom, but this particular one marks on the top. It butts that and it pulls that into 1 inch. And then we go to the other end. We'll get us an inch right here. And then we do a 90. Now, we've got to put in a seam on the other side. Unlock it. Helps when you unlock the other end. Gonna get this a little bit under half, because we have a cleat that has to go on there. And I'll show you that in just a second. Now we have our 5/4 board that we cut down to give us our inch. On this side, we'll put that right in the break, slide it right to it. Very consistent. Every one of them will be the same. Now, that little cleat that we have, this is how you check it. Put it on there. See how she goes down, locks. Perfect fit. So, that's how you make a standing seam panel, standing seam metal roof. Now, we made one earlier that we'll lock these two together and show you what they look like. So in the field, when they put these together, they'll put the cleats over here. They roll this front over on a piece of flashing called, we call it hook metal. It's actually a starter. You nail that down and you hook that at the bottom, and we're going to make that later on. And then we put a couple of nails in the top to keep it from sliding. Then our next pan goes right over top of this one, and the cleats. And that locks on there just like that. And then we have a machine that we fold this first leg under. That's a single lock. Then you can use a single lock. It's not recommended on a pitch lower than the 312. Anything lower than the 312, they want you to do a double lock. And of course, a lot of times they want a double lock on a steeper roof too. And then you just, after you fold this first one, then you go back and then you fold this one over. And that gives you that little straight edge on your standing seam roof. And folks, that concludes the panels. Thank you. See you next time.